Good evening. I'm Carla Roberts, and I am from McPheeters Bend Missionary Baptist Church, and I am working for Holston Valley Baptist Association, and we are going to talk today about crafts and VBS. I know by you watching this video that you have already possibly committed to crafts. If you haven't, by the end, I hope you will commit to doing crafts for our association. Some of the tips that we have when we're planning for VBS in crafts. The very first thing that I would encourage you to do is to begin to pray. Pray and prepare your heart and pray for the hearts of those students that you'll have. Pray for VBS. Pray for the entire VBS program, for our association, for your church. Start praying that people will volunteer to work. Start praying, more importantly, that souls will be sent your way. Those precious little kids that you will have in front of you that you can share the gospel with. To get to some things about crafts, when you begin to think about crafts, a lot of people get a little scared about doing crafts. I can tell you this, with the crafts that we have for Vacation Bible School, it's relatively simple, it's relatively easy. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, but the way that they have things presented and outlined for us is pretty easy. But one of the things that I would encourage you to do to begin with is read and know the Bible stories that's going to be presented through your VBS. I know that there are many different churches using many different venues of VBS, whether it be Lifeway, Group. Some churches create their own material. So it's very important that throughout the week that you know the Bible story that's being presented so that you can share tidbits, pieces, ask the kids about the Bible story. And with that, if there's a focus verse, learn the verse so that you can share it with the kids. And then that way it kind of makes a cohesive unit throughout your VBS. The next thing that I would encourage you to do is when you look across your church, you have a whole lot of people who might not be willing to actively be involved as far as physically with VBS, but most VBSs are very, very successful when they enlist those prayer warriors. Go to your senior adult Bible classes. Go to any of those people who may not be able to be there for you during the week due to work, but they can pray for you. Ask them to commit to praying for you and your team each night. The second thing, the next thing I would ask that you do is start to enlist your helpers now. Some people will shy away from helping in Bible school unless you give them that, hey, could you help me? You go to them personally and let them know that it doesn't mean that they have to do all of it. Perhaps it's just to sit in the classroom with you. Maybe it's to be a runner. But go ahead and start finding you some help as you get ready for VBS. That's some of the groundwork before you even get to talk about VBS. And so the next thing, or point number 2, is I would ask that you gather a lot of information. The more informed you can be about what's going on in the program, the better off you will be. Ask your VBS director for the ages and the approximate number you will have for each class. This is important because when you go to purchase, create, or make your crafts, you need to kind of have a number. Find out how much time you're going to have for each group. That's going to determine some of the crafts that you might make. It'll also determine whether or not you need to have 1 craft or 2 crafts. And while I'm there, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is in the time that you have, always have a backup, even if it is just a coloring sheet that will go with your lesson for the night. Know your budget. How much money will you be getting? How much money can you spend before you go shopping? How much money maybe does each item cost? You're going to have to look at those things so that you'll be able to do VBS crafts in a efficient manner, but also so that you're not running out of materials. Find out where you're going to be doing the crafts. The room number. Where will I be doing these? What does my room look like? And then choose your crafts. As far as choosing crafts, we have several different crafts that we can do. Now, Lifeway, they do with their VBS, they have the starter packs, they have the craft packs, which has a pre-made craft for each night. And if you are planning on doing the Lifeway, if you order through the association, they can get those for you, and you can come by and pick them up from there. Just tell them what you want. So if you are doing, I know some churches are doing last year's Lifeway, and there's still material for that to be ordered. And then also this year's Destination Dig for Lifeway. Some of the other things that you can do as far as crafts, there's always Oriental Trading. Ben Franklin up the road. Amazon has a great number of crafts that go along with several different Bible stories. So as you're shopping and pricing, think of those things. Some of the things that you might want to think about are those materials that you have to have for almost any craft, whether it be glue, scissors, tape, and even something I'll be mentioning later is the Ziploc baggies that we're going to talk about just a little bit as we go to making crafts for this year. Maybe you could have a church-wide drive for these supplies. Many people will donate the supplies, and you could have some of those on hand. So it's important that you start early. Then when we get to creating, this is going back to your room. Decorate and arrange your room. Now, when we talk about decorations for crafts, the decorations could be your focal verse on the wall, because as the week goes on, your room is going to be decorated, perhaps with your crafts as you arrange those. And you need to have some mobility in those rooms, so probably the more simple, the better in your craft room. So what we want to do also is make sure, as in we're in a new world, one of the items that we are encouraging everyone to do is to remember to have sanitizer on your entryway. So what about your materials? Gather up all the materials by the day of the craft. In other words, if it's Monday, perhaps you could use a red box, and this is what I'm going to put Monday's crafts in. Label it Monday. And as you make the crafts or get ready to make the crafts, you'll know that this is Monday's box. Everything I need for Monday should be in here. Instructions, materials that the kids will need, all of those things. And so if you have a box for each day of the week, it does make it easier. One of the things that you might make life easier is if you label by class. So if you've got preschool, perhaps you can give them a label in a certain color. Say green's preschool, so on that craft you'll put a green. If it's youth and it's red, you'll put a red so that you'll know that that is a preschool craft, that is a youth craft. And as we begin to make items, when I talk about labeling, and I've said it, label, 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 something that is awesome that you could use here, and this can be done in advance, is pre-print some labels with the name of your church's phone number. Those can be attached to a craft, and that can be an outreach of its own. So that when a child goes home, maybe that's laying in the car, maybe they've got it in their room, and that is a contact that they would have for a number, and there's just outreach within outreach there. And as we get to the crafts, one of the things that you need to do is go ahead and make an example of each craft you're going to be doing. In order to do this, you're going to have to obviously have all the things in advance, but the advantage of this is you can see how much time it takes you to make the craft, work out any kinks, and it'll make life so much better for you when you begin to do the crafts with the kids. Some suggestions would be to have a craft day. Even those people who aren't going to work with crafts, maybe you could enlist them to come and pre-cut all of your items. Make all of the crafts. And a suggestion that has been given is that whatever items you need for that craft, you can individually put, say this is the preschool, this is preschool kid number 1. You can put all of their supplies for that craft on that day down in this baggie. And then when you go to the craft room, you lay out the baggies. It's already done, and they can obviously go ahead and make those. And in the event that your church may still be doing, they may not be doing crafts as such as in classes, that would be an automatic make and take. You've got your craft to give to the child, even if you are not doing a hands-on Bible school as far as crafts. While we're there, cleaning up between each class, it'd be a good idea to invest in some of those plastic tablecloths. Maybe have a different color for each class. That's where they would be. And at the end of that class, you just pick up the tablecloth and it's good to go for the next class. That's changing in between classes. That kind of makes it COVID friendly, if you will. Plus, it's easy cleanup. And you don't have to worry about something being spilled on a table. So bagging individual supplies and using tablecloths is another easier way to manage your classroom. But one of the things that we sometimes do is we get overwhelmed sometimes with all of the things that we have. But what we need to do is just enjoy the moments. There are going to be those things that happen, but you've got so many of those little treasures and big treasures that's going to come into your craft room. So stay positive. And I would encourage you, as much as we would want to as adults, when those children are making their crafts, maybe they've colored something different than perhaps you would color, don't correct that. If they need help doing the craft, that's okay, but don't correct their creativity. Stay positive, encourage them that they are doing great. You are God's instrument, and they need to see Jesus in you. They need to see that somebody cares. Somebody took the time to make this with me, and they taught me about Jesus. You are God's instrument that week. If your church holds a celebration at the end, go to it. Be there to have the fun with the kids. And above all, participate and follow up outreach. This is key. Guys, this is some of the only chances that we have to reach some of these kids is the 1 week or 2 weeks that they may come to Bible school. And I'll leave you with this, the importance, and this is the words of Jesus, and it's in Mark chapter 10 and verse 14. But when Jesus saw it, he said, "Suffer the little children unto me, forbid them not, for such is the kingdom of God. Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child, he shall not enter therein." Jesus taught us the importance of children. And those kids need to know that there is the one way to heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ. Thank you for your time.